Good afternoon and good morning to our West Coast listeners. My name is Juan Thomas. I have the honor of serving as chair of the ABA Civil Rights and Social Justice section. And I have the honor today to have as my special guest, my friend from our days at the National Conference of Bar Presidents, Ms. Sharon Stern Gersman. Sharon, welcome.
Thanks, Juan. So happy to be here.
Well, like I said, Sharon, you and I have been friends for many years, both serving on the council for NCBP. You are also a past president of the New York State Bar, and you've been active with the ABA for many years in a variety of roles. And now you are chairing here in your role today as chair of ABA Law Day.
I am. I was honored to be appointed by President Deborah Annex Ross to be the National Law Day chair. It involves as well being an ex officio member of the Standing Committee on Public Education, which has always been sort of a soft spot with me. I've done other things within the division. So
yes, I know you're also a former and maybe even current professor of law. You've taught before as well.
I did, or much earlier in my career, and then as an adjunct
Well, good.
For 30 years in Buffalo.
Great. Well, I want to ask you, let's just jump right into it. What is the history and the purpose of Law Day, and why is it important?
Well, its history is really very interesting because it came about in stark contrast to the Soviet bloc's celebration of what they called May Day, which were parades of tanks and troops and other military equipment to show their power and might. And there was a movement, I think, between the American Bar Association and members of Congress to make a statement that democracy in America also should be celebrated, and by celebrating law, the role of law, and the rule of law in the same manner. And so May 1st was also selected. This was all done in 1958 with an act of Congress, and President Eisenhower signed it into law. He issued a proclamation, and every president since has also issued a proclamation on May 1st, designating it as Law Day.
Well, that's a wonderful history for us to learn and to know. A lot of people probably did not realize it had some international roots to its history, to its story. So thank you for sharing that. This year, you are chair of the ABA Law Day. There's a program that's going to kick off tomorrow. There's been activities this week, and of course, May 1st is next week. Could you kind of highlight what this year's themes are, some of the programming that's already occurred and will be occurring tomorrow and beyond?
Sure. So we're very happy that this year's theme coordinates with a special initiative that President Annex Ross has set for the ABA for the entire year. And that is recognizing the cornerstones of democracy: civics, civility, and collaboration. And trying to promote first the public's understanding of what it is to be not only a democracy, but a democracy that respects the rule of law, and the role of the different branches of government and the different parts of government and how they play and how they interplay with the Constitution. I think are, unfortunately, not just the children in schools, but also most of the adults in our country are really inadequately prepared to explain it or understand it. And so civics is a very big part of it. Civility, in terms of discourse, we can't make changes really without being willing to listen to each other and be civil to do so, and to sort of be agreeable while we disagree. So civility is very important and part really of the discourse, that no one is quieted, no one is shut down, civility is necessary for a working democracy. And the last is collaboration, that we can find common ground to solve our problems. There are acts, even in as divisive a Congress as we have now, there have been acts where all the sides came together and compromised and figured out a way to solve the problems for the country. And so those three things are incredibly important, and we are highlighting them on Law Day. So how do we do this? Well, we have some special programs of our own through the American Bar Association in partnership with some other entities. But we also want to recognize the hundreds and hundreds of Law Day programs that are going on throughout the country that are set up by various bar associations, by courts, by schools, even by Air Force bases. And we think it's fantastic that so many local entities recognize the importance of Law Day, embrace the theme, and go forward with the program. So let me highlight a few things about the programs that the ABA is doing that anyone can watch, and we can make sure you get the links to sign up for it. You're going to hear me say many, many times over the course of this talk, www.lawday.org, which is your entry point for everything you could possibly need. Information about these programs, links to register for the programs, as well as all kinds of resources that people can use on a local level to enhance their own Law Day celebrations. So on the 21st of April, we had a conversation between President Annex Ross and the head librarian of the Law Library of Congress. Her name is Aslihan Balut. And I'd like to do a shout out to the Law Library of Congress, because for many, many years, they have been our partners in doing a program on Law Day. They have a wonderful facility. They allow us to use their fantastic little studio as we go forward with doing it virtually. Prior to the pandemic, we had live programming there. It was wonderfully located in Washington, D.C. for people to come in and watch.
Yes.
So the program that we are doing in partnership with Law Library of Congress tomorrow on April 27th is for us to learn from some of our allies abroad of the same issues that they have faced, the divisiveness of their public, the lack of understanding of what it is to be a citizen within their countries, and how they've tackled it, because it's always worthwhile to learn how other people have handled things and give us some ideas, and allows us to then talk about it in our national conversation. So that program and I'm gonna, I hope I don't screw up these names. First of all, our moderator is Nick Allard, who is a former dean of Brooklyn Law School and now back in private practice in Washington, D.C. He is the current chair of the ABA's committee on the Law Library of Congress.
Okay.
And he's moderating. We have Deborah Annex Ross, our ABA president, will be one of the panelists. And the two other panelists are experts from the Law Library of Congress from other countries or experts in law of these other countries. One of them is Ruth Lavush. She is a senior foreign law specialist at Global Legal Research Center in the Law Library of Congress and an expert on Israeli domestic law and comparative law and international law. And Kayahan Kantikin is a foreign law specialist at the Law Library of Congress, specializing in the laws of Turkey, Greece, and Cyprus. And so if you've followed some of the things that have been going on in the news, Israel has had its own real sort of crisis of
Yes.
government, and again the same sort of divisiveness, and they're, you know, and we can talk about how they addressed it, and maybe get some ideas of what we can do as well in the United States. One other shout out to another one of our partners, and that is the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. And they are sponsoring, co-sponsoring with us a number of programs. We have a virtual tour of the National Constitution Center with Deborah Annex Ross, and that's scheduled for the 28th. On May 1, at various times during the day, the National Constitution Center will be conducting peer-to-peer exchanges, and that is students that dial in to the National Constitution Center, and they will be facilitated by many of our ABA members to have a conversation on specific topics. And then finally, on May 5th, there is a Law Day Scholar Exchange at the National Constitution Center, which will be a live class on the Fourth Amendment. So we're really excited about so many of the things that we're doing at a national level, but also want to do a shout out for all of the terrific programming that's going on. Wherever your members happen to be, there will be Law Day programs going on.
Well, Sharon, it's obviously you've done a lot of work to plan and organize these events. I love the focus on Deborah's theme this year, the 3 C's as she refers to them as. You know, last year, our immediate past chair, Beth Wittenberry, her theme was civic education and trying to promote the importance of lawyers helping to educate our citizenry around our government, how processes work, how bills become a law, if you will. And that's an important conversation, particularly in this climate that we're living in. I'm wondering if you could kind of drill down a little bit more on what role do you think lawyers can play or should play in promoting these 3 C's, particularly around civics, you know, all 3, frankly, civics, civility, and collaboration. I mean, we've seen these serious divisive fights in Tennessee, in the Tennessee legislature. We see heightened issues of violence around guns in our country. There really needs to be a focus on how do we kind of elevate these 3 C's, right? What role do you think lawyers can play to advance these 3 C's?
Well, for starters, lawyers are incredibly civic-minded. If you look at the boards of almost every institution, there are lawyers on the board, probably more than any other profession. We have partners during the course of the year in the Cornerstones Commission that have worked on a lot of these issues, and I'm sure they came from the lawyers on that board, so that lawyers on a corporate board can push corporations to engage in civic education of their employees. Right. And we have some of those programs that are going on. In terms of promoting civility, I think lawyers very often throughout both the ABA, in terms of our Committee on Professionalism and professional committees, professionalism committees all over the country, and every state bar and local bar promote civility. Civility in the courtroom is part of our DNA. Right. And so promoting civility in society is sort of a natural extension of that. As you know, in NCBP, we did a lot of programs on Together We Dine, and right. And Cornerstones has similar listening programs where we train ourselves and we help train our neighbors to listen to each other, to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, get a better understanding, so that you know you're treated as a person and not as some category that is to be discarded because it disagrees, you stand for things other than what you personally may believe in. So there's a lot that lawyers can do sort of ready-made out there. And if we can shine a spotlight on it as part of Law Day for them to go out and actually do it, that would be fantastic.
That would be wonderful. More to that same kind of theme, are there specific ways that you're hoping lawyers will get involved in these activities? I mean, you've promoted several of them and you mentioned them. In terms of participating either online or in person, and if lawyers are looking for ways to get involved, how would you encourage them to participate in the ABA's activities?
Well, at this point, to participate in the ABA's activities, we invite you to go to the webpage, www.lawday.org,
Right.
and look for the programs that perhaps you would like to listen and attend. But we have a number of lawyers, and through the years, we sort of recruited them. So, for example, the program at the National Constitution Center, two of the leaders from the Pennsylvania Bar Association stepped up, and they're going to be in Philly at the National Convention Constitution Center to do these programs. And so we've had opportunities at the national level for lawyers to participate that we've sort of offered through the course of the year. But lawyers can contact their local bars, their affinity bars, their state bars to see what programs are ongoing where even if it's just going into their kids' school,
Right.
and talking about these subjects,
Right.
there's usually plenty of opportunities on the local level to do something.
Right. That is so important that lawyers stay connected to their communities beyond just servicing their clients. And so we really want to encourage our colleagues around the country, not only to tune in to the activities on a national level tomorrow and other days, next week, but also really to reach out to their local, state, and affinity bars. Call your local school district. The schools where your kids are in school. Your kids might be embarrassed, but hey, if mom and dad shows up as the lawyer, but the other kids will really appreciate that type of civic education, being exposed to what a lawyer looks like and how to even become a lawyer. So I think that's really important that we encourage that participation.
Some other hands-on, there are a lot of localities that do schools that do essay contests,
Right.
and poster contests. They're always looking for judges, so
Right.
it's not too late.
That's right. That's right. Well, Sharon, we really want to thank you for sharing with us today what Law Day is and what it has been historically. I've known you for a few years, but I want our audience to get to know you a little bit better by asking you, as we know about you, you are also a scholar in your own right. You have been an educator and taught at the law school level. What books are you reading right now, or what's the last book that you read?
So one of the things that I do for fun, believe it or not, is I'm a screener for the Gavel Awards, and we finished up our work at the in March with the books that we were assigned to read that were under consideration for the final list. And one of the books from that group did make it to finalist. I thought it was a fantastic book, and I really commend it to your section members. It's called The Other Side of Prospect. And it's about a murder that took place in New Haven and about the person who was wrongfully convicted of that murder. But it goes into every aspect of social justice, economic justice, justice in the courts, justice in prison. I mean, everything that you can imagine that is connected to that question is covered in a really beautiful and complete way. And so I do recommend that book. For fun, I'm reading a book called Fly Girls. It's about the women who were aviators at the start of our aviation experience, who everyone knows the name Amelia Earhart, but she had 4 other world-class aviator women that we generally do not know anything about. And so I'm having fun reading about them.
Very interesting. And my last question to you, Sharon, is if you could wake up tomorrow morning and be anything except a lawyer, what would you be and why?
If I got to wake up tomorrow morning in a much younger body that was much more fit and athletically talented, I think I'd love to be a professional tennis player.
Really?
So I play a lot of tennis and really enjoy it, particularly the mental exercise of it. People don't think of tennis as a mental game, but it's very much a mental game, and I love doing it. I also knit quite a lot. So when I quit smoking, I needed something to do with my hands. So I turned to knitting, and at the point in my life when I'm going to turn off being a lawyer in an office, because I think I'll be a lawyer until the moment they pull the sheet over me. I can't imagine, seriously, I can't imagine having been any other profession. I toyed with a lot of others when I was younger. I actually even got into medical school.
Did you really?
I did, but I have
which
never
means you
regretted.
applied.
Well, it was as part of a package program.
Okay.
But I never regretted the decision I made. I'm truly happy being a lawyer, and I don't really think anything else would have fit as well.
Well, you're one of the best among us. It's an honor to know you and to call you a colleague and friend. And now that I know you like to play tennis, so do I.
Oh, good.
My grandfather taught me how to play when I was a kid, and we used to watch Wimbledon together when I was visiting his house in the summer. And I've always been a fan of the sport, so we'll have to maybe get out break away from one of these ABA meetings and hit a few back and forth.
That sounds terrific.
Sharon Stern-Gerstmann, thank you for being my guest today. We want to encourage all of our colleagues who are listening to please find a way to get involved in Law Day 2023 on a local, state, or national level. Thank you all for tuning in today. Have a good afternoon.